Hey everyone, sorry that this discussion slash review is so far behind. The first couple of times I tried to do this, the first time I just ran out of time, and the second time I tried to do this, I actually filmed a review of NXT Takeover Toronto, and in the process of transferring the file from my camera to my computer, the file was damaged and I couldn't play it. And it's like, what are you going to do? So I figured best to just sit on it and wait till I find the time to do it, because these past few days I've been incredibly busy. Just got done with another vacation from work, went to a Comic-Con in Conway, Arkansas. I had a blast there, and now I finally have the time to give my discussion on this, considering the fact that I accidentally came upon spoilers of things that's shaping up on NXT. NXT Takeover Toronto. I don't know what I'm going to have as the title of this video, but hopefully the title I give this is going to sum up my thoughts on the show based on the finish. Now, the show itself was great. It was great. It's not NXT's best show. Absolutely not. My personal favorite is still their first stop in Brooklyn. That's still my favorite NXT TakeOver show. However, this show was going so well. It felt like a big deal. Every match seemed like it served a purpose. They treated this show as if it meant something. I was actually looking forward more to this show than I was Survivor Series, to be honest. You already know our thoughts on Survivor Series, but now I need to discuss my thoughts on NXT TakeOver Toronto, because I've done promise these thoughts and I'm going to give them to you. I'm not going to give any star ratings or anything like that. I'm just going to talk about the matches. First off, Bobby Roode going over Ty Dillinger. I thought that was the right move to make. You're building up Bobby Roode as a megastar. His entrance just screamed superstar. It was just great. He had easily the best entrance, not only this show, but probably the entire weekend that the WWE had with this and Survivor Series. Bar none. Great entrance. I hope he uses this entrance more often when it comes to big shows like this. And him going over Ty Dillinger was the right move to make. No, this does not bury Ty Dillinger. He gets Ty Dillinger, think about this. He got, a couple months ago, he jobbed to Oney Lorcan. And now he had a spotlight match on an NXT pay-per-view, if you want to call him that. He had a spotlight match. He opened the show with a big star, and he has a huge following. So does this bury Ty Dillinger? In my opinion, absolutely not. The finals of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic with the Authors of Pain going over, I thought that was the right move to make as well, because considering what you did with DIY, you would want a strong, dominant heel team to chase after them and have a good tag team title feud. I thought it was the right move to make. It would have made the Authors, it would have diminished some of the Authors of Pain's push if they were to have lost to TM61. No offense to TM61. They're a tremendous team. They were pulling off some crazy spots. I loved Paul Ellering being hung above the ring over in a small little shark cage. I thought that was very reminiscent of the NWA Jim Crockett days. I thought that was a great move to make. And having the Authors of Pain, even with the supposed chain botch near the end of the match, I thought still it was a solid match. I thought the Authors of Pain winning was the right move. The NXT Women's Title match with Asuka and Mickie James, I thought there were moments where Mickie James showed Asuka up. It's just how I felt watching the match. The fact that you have to bring in someone from the past to help get Asuka a good match, to help build up a show, that's both a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing that you can get a star like that people still remember, that people still respect, like Mickie James, and bring her in against somebody who can work in the ring with her, who can, have good chemistry if the situation demands it, But at the same time, what does that say about the women you have on your NXT roster right now? What does that say about how you feel about Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, Liv Morgan, Aaliyah, and having Mickie James lose so abruptly to that Asuka lock, that was kind of upsetting. I would have liked to have seen Mickie fight it off a little bit more than she did, and for her to just tap out immediately. I thought that was kind of lame. But the way you've built Asuka up, and with all the horsewomen gone from NXT, you've got Asuka pretty much as your female equivalent of Brock Lesnar right now. He's like, nobody can really touch her. Well, at least a Brock Lesnar there ain't going to get squashed by Goldberg in a minute and a half. But the thing is, Asuka now has become overconfident. She has now become cocky, arrogant. Let's just not sugarcoat it, folks. She's acting like a bitch. And when you have a character like this, but the fans still cheer her out of respect for how talented she is in the ring. But let's be honest. She's acting like a bitch. She's cocky. She's arrogant. She is a heel right now. She may not have had what you would call a good heel turn, but she's acting heel. And the fact that Mickie James, in my opinion, was working much better than she was in this match should tell you something. But for right now, with Asuka, there's only one option you have, and that is Ember Moon. If you continue to build up Ember Moon the way you are, you might have a chance to save the NXT Women's Division with these two ladies. You definitely need more work with Liv Morgan, Peyton Royce, and Billie Kay. You definitely need more work with them. If those three ladies, and maybe you count Aaliyah too, if those ladies are your future of the NXT Women's Division, we have a problem. Now, I know I've said on Facebook and Twitter that I would like to see Taylor Hendricks from Ring of Honor in the NXT Women's Division. She could be like your next Dana Brooke, a person that's got a good look, who's got a good attitude and a good presence in the ring, but somebody who clearly needs more work in the Performance Center. You know, it's like it wouldn't hurt to bring in some more women into the Performance Center to have a name that already are kind of sort of established. And I think Taylor Hendricks would be a good addition to the NXT Women's Division. Just don't bring her in right away. Give her some work in the ring, have her work out in the Performance Center, get her used to that WWE style. I see some potential there to be a good bitchy heel to chase after, and hopefully, you know, you can have her as that bitchy heel character that you would want to see a babyface woman beat up. That's what I see for Taylor Hendricks. But as far as Asuka's concerned, you've made her too strong. And you're going to need some work to build up somebody like an Ember Moon to take her down. The tag team title match, it was great. Easily the match of the night. There was a lot of story there. There was a lot of drama there. The crowd was desperately wanting to see Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano go over the Revival. My only complaint about this match is you didn't really need the 2 out of 3 fall stipulation. You didn't really need it. You had enough story there for just a regular match, but you wanted to add some sizzle, and you had the Revival get the first fall immediately, and thus have more of a challenge to climb up, you know, for DIY. I get it. It's good to see DIY finally hold the tag team titles, and maybe you can get them away from the Revival now to have them focus on a feud with the Authors of Pain. Authors of Pain just won the Tag Team Classic. It makes only sense that you send them after DIY for those tag team titles. Now let's get to the main event. Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe. What the hell was this? This was the only match that actually did not keep my attention. This was the main event for your top title on that brand, and there were moments where it lost my attention. And then you gave us the finish. Whoever thought this finish was a good idea, they were clearly wrong. I don't care if it was Triple H or hell, even Vince McMahon himself. It doesn't matter who came up with the finish or who, you know, it's like they had to Triple H and Vince had to finalize it, or Triple H may have. I don't know how much pull Vince has on NXT. But having Samoa Joe go over was a mistake. It was a ridiculous mistake. Just thrown in there for shock value. The shock value you gave us with Joe winning the way he did was immediately overshadowed with the shock that you gave us between Goldberg and Lesnar. It was a stupid decision to have Nakamura drop the belt. Now, I already have heard about the spoilers online. I accidentally came across them. And for those of you who don't know yet, spoiler alert. Apparently in Osaka, Japan, Shinsuke Nakamura just got the title right back. So you're talking about maybe a 3 week-ish title reign for Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe now has probably the worst NXT title reign out of everybody that's held that title. That's pathetic. That is sad. And the fact that you ruined Shinsuke Nakamura with this loss, yeah, I'll say it. You ruined him. You gave him one of the most monstrous pushes you've ever given anyone on that brand. And you ruined it by having him lose. And now you have, supposedly you have Bobby Roode as the new #1 contender for the NXT title. Right away, you ruined one of the biggest selling points that you could have had for a match between these two guys. You could have had an undefeated champion defend his title against an undefeated challenger. Undefeated versus undefeated, with a title at stake. You could have easily marketed this match with that big point. Neither one of these men have been beaten yet on this company. You could have had you could have had the announcers emphasize that somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. Someone's unbeaten streak is going to end in this match. And it's for a championship. I mean, right there, you can print money with just that point alone. Now you can't do it because you've already had Shinsuke Nakamura lose. You've already had him lose. So right there, like that, the match is not going to be as appealing. And even if you do have Bobby Roode go over, it's not going to feel as important. It's not going to feel as big because we've already seen Nakamura lose. What's going to be so shocking about Bobby Roode beating him if that happens? It's not going to feel as important. It's not going to feel as monumental because you've already done it. And you threw that finish away to be overshadowed by that Goldberg-Lesnar finish to the point now it's like, why should we believe now that Shinsuke Nakamura is such a badass now? Because he lost after getting kicked in the balls. So, if Bobby Roode beats him, how's it going to feel special? It won't. The only way this match can be special is if Nakamura goes over Bobby Roode. I mean, and honestly, I don't want that to happen. I'm actually pulling for Bobby Roode because I think he would make a great heel champion for NXT. And if you have him take the title at the NXT Takeover in December, if you have him take the title there, then you can have him carry the belt to WrestleMania weekend, NXT Takeover Orlando. And you can have him drop the belt there to someone who you've been building up. Maybe a Nakamura. You could probably throw Nakamura at him at WrestleMania weekend and have somebody finally beat the unbeatable Bobby Roode. You know, but you've already ruined this match. If you are going to have Roode versus Nakamura for the title, you've already ruined it. I'm sure it'll be a great match. I'm sure these two will get along in the ring just fine. But the meaning and the powerful story that you could have had is no longer there. You threw it away. Just to give Joe a pat on the back when he's ready to come to the main roster. Well, as of right now, I'm glad that Joe doesn't have the title anymore, since now he's freed up. You can bring him to the main roster, say around Royal Rumble time. It can happen. It can work. You can still do it. But anyway, there's my very late and very brutally honest thoughts on NXT TakeOver Toronto. The show was great, but the finish of the show hurt it tremendously. And to be honest, Samoa Joe's win here was a mistake. And having Shinsuke Nakamura lose was stupid. And the WWE should be ashamed of themselves. Because you just ruined a good potential build between two unbeaten opponents. I'm just saying.